So we go here, and then we're gonna go here, and we're gonna have her hold her hand like this. Good. Along the dorsum, you can gently remove your hand for me. That's it. To the tip of her third finger. And I measured 36 centimeters. And at the wrist level, it's 16 centimeters. So I know that the first 16 centimeters of my splint will be up the wrist. So I have 36, 16 to wrist. So it's another 20 centimeters to fingertip. Okay, from here, I want to measure about 2/3 of the forearm, so it's going to be 14 centimeters. And when I get up to the wrist, it needs to narrow down to about 10. Then it needs to widen to 12. And here I need to catch the whole hand, so I need to have a little bit of ellipse. So I'm going to go maybe 12.5, 13. Okay, very good. Now you can gently hold that. We're going to make our pattern. So I'm going to measure again to 36 centimeters. Okay, and I need it at the back to be 14. And I'm going to get towards the wrist, so at the wrist is at 16 centimeters. So here's my wrist, and at this point I need it to go down to 10. And as I go back up, as I get to here, this needs to be 12. So we're going to put this at about 12 up here. So this means we have a pattern that's gently sloping towards there, gently sloping towards there, and then it's kind of expanding up to our 12. All the way to the end of our 36. I want to cut that out, and we want to test our pattern before we start cutting into material. So we're going to ask our patient to come over here gently. There we go. You can gently remove your hand. I've got it. Thank you. And we're going to hold it like this. I'm going to check where we are.
The other side.
Okay, and I think it could be maybe a centimeter or two on each end, a little bit shorter. Okay, good. So I'm going to reduce it by 1 centimeter. And I'm also going to take a centimeter off back here. Now I'm going to put it on my material and then transfer it to the material. Might as well do it down here. And you might wonder why I'm cutting this a little bit longer. I'm cutting this a little bit longer so that I have a little bit left over for the palmar bar. I'm gonna put this in the hot water. The water's heated to 60 degrees. For the forearm, cut a thin piece of stockinette, and being careful to keep the fingers flexed, apply the stockinette to the patient. This will protect against the heat of the splint during fabrication. Cut this out. Heat it back up again, get it ready to get on her skin. You don't want to cut that cold. When you cut it warm, the edges seal and you have a nice... You can let go there. And this is, I want you to get this ear making thing here, that's important. Find your other ear. There we go. We're going to bring the wrist up just a little bit. We're going to have about 20 degrees of extension in there. Yeah, that's pretty good. We can do even a little bit less. Okay, and we need about 40 degrees of flexion in our MCPs. So we're checking our MCPs and we're right at 40. Didn't we do a good job? I'm going to make that a little bit of a wall there for her so she has a surface to grasp against. And we want to make sure we make this spacey enough in here that she's going to be comfortable, that there's a little bit of air. If it's too tight in there, it doesn't feel good. It gets all sweaty. That's not nice. She won't like it. Go ahead and think about making our wall a little bit shorter here. Maybe not quite that short, but there. This one also doesn't need to be quite so long. I was very generous. The length of the splint is actually pretty good. We'll give her just a more minute to hold. We'll double check that our measurements have been maintained, and we are sitting beautifully right at 40 degrees and right at a little bit below 20 degrees, but pretty good. We'll take it. There you go, just a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Not yet. So we have our basic splint. We can go ahead now to shorten that a little bit. Good. There, get a better edge. There we go. And she looks pretty good in there. There we go. My thumb has a nice surface to grasp against. There we go. This is a little long. This can come off. There's our perfect extra piece. Put our patient in here. Get this. Yeah, she's looking really good here. She loves this. It's a little bit high there. Okay, ready? You want to see her. You want to be able for her to move like you. There we go. When you're checking for placement of the palmar bar, it is important that this sits below the MCPs and allows for full flexion of the MCPs. We do not want to block MCP movement. In this next step, we are measuring for the placement of the straps and the actual length of the straps. You will note that I mark where I am going to place the splint straps, and then I measure with the measuring tape how long the straps need to be. I keep track of this and then cut the straps and add these. holds her in there. Velcro helps to make it more adhesive. We're going to put this back on here, and then on the very back of the splint, I'm going to add a piece. Back in here, fits right here. This bar needs to sit below her MCP area. I'm going to gently roll to the side and reattach this on the back. So we now attach this way, and here. And now she's firmly in there. We're going to give her night band.
Right, can't see that. Like this, right?
Right. So we'll be adding that piece here. Okay, over this way.
The initial portion of this video demonstrates the process for the fabrication of a thermoplastic splint for an active motion protocol for the treatment of a flexor tendon injury with a 4-strand repair. Up until this point, the process for fabricating a splint for either a controlled active motion protocol or an early controlled motion modified Kleinert protocol is exactly the same. In the next portion of this video, you will see this same splint remolded for treatment with a modified Kleinert protocol for 2-strand flexor tendon repairs.
Go up here. And now we're going to bring our wrist down a little bit. Exactly. And we're actually going to bend a little bit more here. So we're going to be here at about 20 degrees, 10 to 20, and here we want to be around 50. And I'm very happy with that. Go. Double check our angles again. Sitting there nicely around 50 to 60, we'll take it. Sitting here nicely at 10, we'll consider that good. Okay, so now these steps are essentially the same as with the cam splint, but now we're changing the position. Roll over and have a look here. Looks pretty good. Feels okay. A little bit radiated there. There we go. Yeah, we're in a good position. Sure those eyepiece can straighten. Good. Now we're going to add this back on here. And I'm going to add this back on here. And now, as we want to...
The next portion demonstrates the process of adding a fingernail traction loop to the finger. You will need small pieces of leather for this and cut a small oval pad the size of each fingernail. You will also use 1.6 millimeter thermoplastic splinting material to make a small rivet in each of the fingernail pads. You will then punch a hole in the plastic reinforced leather, and this prevents the nylon thread from pulling out of the leather. You will attach this small pad to each fingernail using super glue or nail glue.
And at the top of the nail, on the furry part of the leather, you want to make a tiny little rivet here. Kind of seal that up so that your when you put a hole in there, it'll stay firmly, and you want to make sure you leave quite a bit of the furry part left so that when you put this on the nail, there's something to grip. So we have our hole, we have our plastic, and we have our hole, hopefully, and our plastic again. To put her pulley in so that her fingers are flexed during the day. So we're going to take her fingers and we're going to come down here, and we need them to go right through here. So make 2 marks. So our aim is here and here. Okay, and what works really well for these are actually the eyes of a hook and eye. So we're just going to sink those in there, and we also need to make the hook back here for her. And there's a couple of ways we could do that. But for right now, we'll do this step, and then we'll add the hook back here. And actually on this one, we want that to end up about right. We're going to use 2 hooks for hooks, or 2 eyes from hooks and eyes, and we're going to take this and we're going to heat it up, and you want to heat these 2 little legs of this like this. Get it good and hot, and just sink it right down in there where it needs to go. There you go. It's in. And you've created a nice little tunnel. Look at that. I'll pick up the one I dropped before. Do the second one. Same process. Heat the 2 legs. Good and hot. Take your spot, know where you want to sink it. You've marked that before you started, and in it goes. And this one will probably go down 10. Okay, and these are where we're going to put our threads through. Okay. Thinner piece of splinting material and a paper clip. And we'll make it fancy. We'll give her a nice gold paper clip. Makes a great hook. So if you can just get that. So all you do to make the paper clip is to give you a better contrast here. Is you have your clip. You take your end of your clip like this, you hold it, and you turn it over, and you've made a really nice clip. But that's where your rubber band is going to go, okay? And so as we take our, really all we need to do now is cut, should put that in there. we're gonna fix that on there. So we want our hook to end up here, okay? That'll be how we'll hook the rubber band on there for this part. And the easiest thing here is to just cut a tiny little hole. So you're just cutting a tiny little hole and you're gonna slide this through here, okay? And then this is gonna, okay, so you're gonna take this piece and you're just gonna kind of fold it over here. Fold it over here. And you put it back. And we now have a nice little hook here. And if we wanted to, we can make that a little flatter, but we're, okay. Now we're gonna take this piece. This is gonna sit like that. We're gonna add this piece here. And now we're gonna be threading our pulley units through here. So we'll This is cheap material, so cut off too much silk rather than too little. You're gonna go through this hole. Okay. And we're gonna take this right down here through this hole right here. Okay, very good. When we do this, we wanna make sure she always has enough excursion. So we don't want to make these too short. We want to make them more on the long side. We can always shorten them up. It's a lot harder to add to it than it is to take off. So we're going to add this bit. So, can you hold that? Thank you. So you want to use these rubber bands. They're quite, the chalky colored ones are the best ones because they're quite soft, and initially she's not going to be able to tolerate a full pull, so we're going to gently, so we're going to go through here like this, and we're going to pull this through. And then we can adjust this way. We can adjust by pulling right here. Can you go ahead and straighten your finger? And relax. And straighten your finger. And relax. And that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and shorten this right here. See what we got going here. Relax and go down. Let it pull you down. There you go. Let's keep sliding. So we're going to go ahead and tape this up where we want it to be. I want this to be kind of back there. So we'll go ahead and give it a little bit of help with some tape. Go ahead and relax and let the cord pull you down. Okay, and that could be a little bit shorter. So we might consider a smaller rubber band. You can easily remove these. If we wanted to use a spring, then we would need a different hook. But we could also use a spring, okay? And see if you can do them both at the same time. And relax. Good. And straighten. And relax.
At night, the fingers are released from the traction elements. A soft nighttime strap is added to gently position the fingers in extension during the night. This helps prevent contractures of the IP joints.
Okay, good. Last step. At night, she's going to take these off. Here and here. She's very carefully positioned there. And actually, a little trick for the night band is to and there she's sorted for the night. Okay, in the morning she wakes up, she removes this, she opens here, she attaches here, she attaches here, and she does her exercises during the day. Very good. You want to give her some extra rubber bands in case one breaks. She can replace them herself. Okay.
At 6 weeks post-operative, the splint and traction elements are removed.